Shauna, so we're just going to introduce you as co-host, and then we're going to do...
Hey, guys. How's it going? Scooch over a little. I'm Doug. Hi.
Hi.
Cool.
Doug.
This is great. This set is fantastic. You picked this is amazing. It's going to look so good on TV.
Did you get my email?
I obviously I didn't because I'm not wearing pajamas like you guys. I should have worn the pajamas.
And
I might have a T-shirt I could just throw on. In the back,
where'd you get the mic from, too?
Yeah, there wasn't any around, so I just hooked this one up. It looked like it didn't have enough mics to go around, so I just got my own.
We're doing a show about moms.
Moms, I got a mom.
No, like moms, like uniting with moms.
Right, right.
Right, so it's not really appropriate material for you to be part of?
What do you mean?
You're a dad.
I know I'm a dad. I got kids, I got daughters. I'm married to a mom.
You need to make like Tom and Cruise.
I like her.
I'm not so sure.
Get out of here.
Okay, fine.
There is a Douglas here on set today. It's Shauna Stewart Douglas of Moms Uniting Moms, and it's all about that very thing. Getting rid of the men and uniting us mothers as one.
Creating a Canadian spin to the End the Mommy Wars movement that showcased a variety of mothers coming together to promote acceptance and less judgment in parenting, Canadian mom Shauna Stewart Douglas put her own spin on it with Moms Uniting Moms, a judge-free zone where moms can share their ideas and questions in a safe place.
So I love the whole movement of the Moms Uniting Moms. What made you think about that?
Well, my daughter was born in 2012, and I just found that I was feeling really isolated at home, and like I wasn't getting enough contact with other moms.
On the About Us page of momsunitingmoms.com, it says, this is what motherhood looks like. We breastfeed, we formula feed, we struggle with infertility, our babies are happy surprises, we're rich, we're poor, we're gay, we're straight, we use soothers, we don't, we laugh, we cry, and through it all we support each other. I think that's just a great way to just explain your whole website, basically what you're trying to achieve. So when you put this website out here and stuff, how did that all start, and where has it gone from there?
Well, the mom groups that I first started in 2012, it just kind of kept on building. There's 3,500 women in the groups now in 3 different cities. And I just really wanted to work on a project that could really talk about what it is that we wanted to, the message that we're wanting to put out there, which is really about non-judgment. And I saw some stuff online where moms were doing something similar, and so I asked women from the groups if they would be interested in doing something similar, and over 30 women wanted to participate, so we did a photo project that was all about non-judgment.
And that was on social media. I saw it before I even met you. So after that happened with that movement, what happened for you next? Did things kind of explode for you a little bit with the Moms Uniting Moms?
It did. It's been really exciting, actually. I had a chance to talk to the CBC, Blog Her. It's been in various different places. I've had friends say that it popped up in Spain and kind of different countries around, and I can see that there's people looking at the website from all over the world, which is really exciting. I've also had a lot of moms just reach out and say that the message that we were putting out there, that it really made a difference for them and made them feel like knowing that there was support out there for them made them feel really good.
Have you had any particular stories that you'd like to share of any moms that have written to you and talked about any of their struggles that you'd like to share?
Yes, well, I think that one of the things that comes up a lot, I think, is breastfeeding and formula feeding. That is a topic that comes up again and again, where moms, they feel really heartbroken. It's amazing the impact that these kinds of struggles have.
Well, and the guilt too.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Another woman, she told me that she happened to find the group on a night when she wasn't sure what she was going to do. She was completely at her wit's end, and she didn't know where to go. And she happened to come across our group, and that it just made a really impactful difference.
Well, today we're not just, doing the movement online. We're getting some mamas in pajamas here in the DL set. And we have some special guests, including somebody's mama, coming up after the break. Also, we're just going to discuss things like in your excerpt for your About Us page, part of it was just talking about why is everyone on the internet so angry? Like, it seems like when we are able to be behind the scenes, we can, there's a lot more judgment. So being able to have conversations face to face with moms, I think that's a good
A good thing.
Tone to set.
Yes.
So coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about everything from surprises in motherhood to unsolicited advice and judgment that moms receive as a new mom and throughout the rest of your parenting career, I think. The rest of our mamas in pajamas. If you wanted to start, we'll just go around and introduce yourselves, and then we'll go right into discussion.
I'm Cheryl Stewart. I'm Shauna's mom.
Shauna Stewart Douglas, and I'm her daughter.
I'm Lisa Rettle, and my mom did not want to come. Thanks for rubbing it in.
I'm Anya Connerton. I know Lisa from a while back, but we'll keep that secret.
On the DL?
I'm Rianda Linsdale, and I have 2 kids. I'm a mom. I have a son and a daughter.
Awesome. And how many kids?
One, he's 7 years old.
He's actually over there.
Yeah.
I have a 3-year-and-a-half-year-old daughter.
I have a 37-year-old daughter and a 34-year-old son.
You're 37?
I am.
Get out of here. I changed my mind. Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, I feel really depressed. Well, which is great, because our first question is, in your opinion, what would be the best present someone could give a new mother at her baby shower? And one of the people on Facebook said, bottled wine, dark chocolate bar, and coffee, all things that I want right now, looking at your youthful face.
Those are things that I want all the time, so that works out great.
But honestly, like I see people all the time with, you go into baby showers, and a lot of the stuff that's given, especially with free groups like Mamas for Mamas, where no money's exchanged, you get these presents that are expensive, clothes and things like that you don't really need as a mom, and a lot of gadgets you don't need. So being mothers, everybody here, why don't we just go around and say, if you could go back to your baby shower, what would you wish that people would give you? Or
To clean my house. That would have been top of my list.
Yes. For me, it was definitely food. Just food, all of it.
Well, somebody online also said, to do some pre-made meals for the fridge. Yeah. I have to go with your mom, though, because what I would have loved is just people pitching in for a house cleaner, because the last thing you want to do after birthing a child is clean your house, right? What about you?
Well, being pregnant felt like forever, and obviously huge changes. My body changed drastically. I felt like even something personal for the mom, not just the baby, like maybe pitch in for not a huge gym pass, but maybe a couple months, or even a gift card to a restaurant, so you can actually, when you get the time, have some me time with your significant other. That's kind of what I felt that I would like something for me.
Yeah.
Because it's been 9 months of all about the baby and
then the rest of your life.
And the rest of my life. All about the baby. That's 7.
How about you?
I'd have to agree with all of those, definitely, and those are things that have come up with friends of mine that I've asked as well. One thing I found that I used the most is a travel mug. Because you're never going to have a hot drink again unless you have a travel mug.
My son goes, hot, and then he'll stick his head and grab my tea bag out and stuff. It's quite annoying.
Yeah, you got to have one with a lid and it doesn't spill.
I haven't, it's been almost 2 years. Why did I think of that? Okay, what are some things that you thought you needed versus what you actually need as a new mom?
Well, for me, I mean, obviously I was a mom. Well, we're not going to say it. Well, we do already know how long ago it was.
The secret's revealed.
Yeah. So the gadgets weren't quite so important back then. There weren't so many of them. But I think I got 4 million little pearly dresses that, they never get to wear. Or they do once and they puke on it.
Tell us more. This is good, actually, having your mother here, because we can make this show really interesting. What else did she do in those dresses? Okay, what about you?
I think that one of the things that I thought that I need was a change table. And it was fine to have them, but really it didn't matter because I ended up changing her on the floor or on the bed or on the change table or in my lap or or in the air, all that kind of thing.
And it's just a waste of space.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a change table and I used it in the very beginning. Like I think you do everything that you think you're supposed to do in the beginning, and then you're like, to hell with it, and then everything goes out the window. What about you?
Same sort of thing, all the gadgets, even a little bathtub or this, you end up putting the child in the sink. You know, and diapers. That's all I have to say. Bring on the diapers.
Yeah, agree.
Also a good gift to give somebody. Diapers.
Yes.
Diapers, yes. Right? Baby shower diapers.
Okay. And another thing too is when you become a mom, there's some things that you don't know until you're a mom. Like one big surprise for me was I actually learned through my sister's birth, but that you have to give birth to a placenta after you give birth to a baby. Those are things that you should probably know, like before you go into labor. But what are some things for you guys that you were like, what? I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, that one. Like, what do you mean? Twins. So that was a little shocking for me, for sure. And again, back when I had kids, my mom didn't. Horse and buggy. You know. My mom didn't talk about it, so that I definitely didn't know about. So that was a little bit of a shocker.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's not just a little thing that comes out. It's like a baby-sized.
Yeah.
Well, you have to push again. Yeah. To get it out.
Yeah.
It never ends. No. How about you?
I didn't realize how much I would shake after the baby was born. For some reason, I glossed over that part of the how-to manual, I guess. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to be so. It's violent for me. It was like I was really shaking afterwards, which was a little bit alarming.
After giving birth?
Yeah.
Was it because you were
It's
shocked?
adrenaline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sit during my labor, so I was just shaking because my legs were giving away. It's horrible, but awesome and beautiful.
Very glamorous.
Very glamorous, especially for the men in our lives. Right? Okay, for you?
What was unexpected? Do you know, this is really weird, but when Braden was born, he had hair all over him. Like little
his back and stuff?
on his back and stuff. And I wish somebody prepared me for that because it freaked me out. And I was like, what's wrong with my baby? Just little things like that you don't know about what the baby's gonna, encounter down the road. I can't really narrow down to one thing because there's so many surprises.
Yeah.
But that stood out for some reason. I don't know
You're
why.
like a circus. It might
Yeah,
be.
Did I give birth to human or?
I think the most surprising thing for me, which is kind of interesting, is just the depth of love that you feel. Like that first 24 hours is the most magical time you can imagine. I'm sure it's not the same for everybody, but definitely that was shocking.
Saying that when people always say, when your baby is first born, you look at it and you can't believe how beautiful it is. That didn't happen for me. Like I looked at my son, he looked like a little bodybuilder. Like it was really creepy, right? But then again, at 24 hours to 48 hours, I was like, my husband would come in the room and I'd be just bawling and he's like, are you okay? I'm like, he's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Did that happen to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think it was a little bit delayed for me as well, for a number of reasons. But it took a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was like you could just sit there and stare at her for forever. Although I do know that I've talked to lots of moms who found that it didn't happen for them, and then it started to make them feel scared, actually, the fact that a week would go by and 2 weeks and 3 weeks and they weren't feeling this overwhelm of love, and it was really scary for them.
Basically, online they said as well, I had no idea of how hard it would actually be, the hormones, the emotions, the sleepless nights, the opinions of others. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. Is that a
Absolutely.
consensus we've got, I guess?
I called my mom. I remember actually standing in my living room going, why didn't anyone tell me it was going to be this hard? And mom was just going, I don't know, honey, I don't know. But I was, it was.
She was actually saying, payback.
Now
you're finally going to appreciate
Now you understand.
You really can't tell anyone how hard it's going to be.
No.
You can't explain it.
You can't prepare,
No.
really.
No. One of the biggest things was breastfeeding. I didn't realize that we'd be breastfeeding every hour and a half when you do, or feeding in general. Like I was breastfeeding, but for just babies needing to eat every hour and a half was a big surprise for me.
And that it could be so painful.
Yeah. Hashtag mastitis.
I know.
Have you been there?
Unfortunately.
Oh my God. What'd you do about it?
Well, fortunately, I'm an acupuncturist, so I treated myself
Like, explain how you treated yourself.
with needles.
You needled it out?
Yeah, in the breast.
Did you guys have mastitis, anybody?
I didn't have actually mastitis, but I was starting to get, I I had Raynaud's. I had like various.
What's that?
It's basically like a vasospasm thing where whenever there's any kind of temperature change, or whenever my daughter would latch, whenever my daughter would come off, whenever there was anything going on at all, it would excruciating pain in your breasts.
I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous how much women have to go through.
I know.
What are some good examples of unsolicited advice people have given you about parenting or judgments? Let's go over here.
That's a tough one. I don't really remember a lot of the unsolicited advice. I think I really blocked it out. I think I did.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
Tune it out.
Yeah.
And what about you?
Probably the judgments that I did face. A few months down the road, I did have a friend that came up to me, and the best advice I did ever get was to ignore. Ignore. Don't take the advice. Just go with the flow. It's your child, you know, and things will fall into place. Don't take take things that people say with a grain of salt, because it's just.
One of my favorite gifts also to give a new mom is there's a onesie that says "My mom doesn't want your advice." I love it. What about you guys?
Once I was in a grocery store, and I ended up talking to a friend of mine who was working there, and I was saying that my daughter was sleeping in our bed. And a woman, I was over the apples as I was putting them in my bag. She comes beelining over, and she was going, "Oh, no, you get that child out of your bed as soon as you can." And I'm going, "I'm sorry, who are you?" Like, "Thank you so much. I think we're okay." But she had a list of reasons why this was crazy.
Like what?
And, that I was going to smother her, that I was going to cause all kinds of problems, that I had to teach my 3-week-old independence and all those sorts of things. And actually, it was really funny. I was talking to my mom. She had the best advice ever for me, because on this particular topic, I had said to her, "Okay, Mom, so I'm bed sharing, but these are all the reasons why it's okay." And
were you and your mom in bed at the time when you said that?
Actually, we were. I was in bed and she was sitting on the corner. And I was getting
normal.
It's totally okay. And I gave all these lessons. She kind of stopped me at one point and she said, she goes, "Actually, I'm not going to tell anyone anything, because it's not anyone's business what you do with your child. So I'm not telling them anything."
I did sleep with my son on the couch for like 6 weeks after, and I felt like it was the best decision for me, because when I was in bed, I felt scared and panicked, and I'm like, I'd go in his room and I'd shake him, or I'd poke him. But if you have the baby with you, you have that sense of security. You can monitor their breathing, and you can be with them.
Yeah.
So I didn't really listen to that advice. But I remember somebody was at one of these events in Kelowna. The lady actually lectured me because she was talking about cribs. I'm like, I don't need a crib yet. And she's like, "You're co-sleeping? Don't tell me that. Like I was a criminal."
And it's different for everyone. I mean, for some people, I mean, for our family, and I always think that for our family is a good thing to put off after things. It's like, I don't think you should do that, or this doesn't work for our family, or this does work for our family. But for us, we all got better sleep that way. But I know for some people, they cannot sleep with their child anywhere near them.
Yeah.
And that works too. Like, we're all about whatever you need to do in order to get some sleep makes everyone less grumpy.
Well, and that also goes with a home birth and hospital birth, because neither I think is worse or better than the other, but it's whatever's more comfortable. For me, hospitals have always represented pain or loss or things that are bad, or listening to people giving birth. My sister was giving birth, and then there was another girl giving birth, and I could hear all these women giving birth, and I'm like, "Oh, it's horrible," And so I think with some people, they just feel more safe in a hospital or comfortable, whereas I felt better at home.
Me too. I mean, and we're mammals too, and so I think that you end up, I mean, it's the most kind of basic of human things to to go in and give birth to a baby. So I think there's lots of things you end up doing that just you take yourself into a real almost primitive state sometimes. And for some people, feeling safe is exactly to be in a hospital and to be right by the doctors and nurses and all those things, which is brilliant, beautiful. You should definitely do that. For me, I happen to want to be at home as well, so I did that. But having done it before now too, I think that if I ever got pregnant again, I think I would be more comfortable now being in a hospital. If that's how it all turned out, I think I'd be perfectly okay with that as well.
Somebody said that, again, most judgments for me felt like they were around breastfeeding. I stopped breastfeeding my son when he was only 6 months old for a variety of reasons. I still get questioned about it. And another person said judged for breastfeeding a toddler. So it's like, no matter what you do, somebody is against it.
Yeah. You can't win.
You can't. That's why you have to drink wine and eat chocolate. And that's why you should give a new mom that for Okay, so the next topic is the biggest transition in your life. So when you had kids, what was the hardest part of your life that had to change?
We couldn't just get up and go to the pub anymore. You have another person all the time, and your life is completely changed.
And if you want to, it takes 5 times longer.
And costs way more.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen anymore. You definitely, your body, your lifestyle, everything about it changes.
Yeah.
You're tired.
Yes.
Very.
Like I had to have a coffee just today because I'm like, it's like I'm very, very thin. Yeah, exactly. I'm only allowed to gain 1 more pound in 10 weeks.
Oh.
According to my midwife.
Good luck.
Wish me luck through Christmas. What was the biggest transition for you?
Some stuff around work actually was a big thing for me. I was talking to one of the moms online actually, and she described it as grieving the loss of her career. And I thought that was a good way to put it because I went from working full-time, I was working from home, but I was in meetings, talking to people all the time. I was functional, I was contributing financially to my household. I had all these things to do, and I had a certain amount of my identity wrapped up in that in a lot of ways. And then all of a sudden, I'm on mat leave, I'm at home, I'm by myself most of the time with this little person who is a terrible conversationalist. And it was quite a shock to suddenly realize that I had to find a completely different relationship with myself that I had ever had.
Well, did you find too, like, and people, all of our staff here can attest to this. When I spend too much time with my son, I feel like I'm reverting. Like I'll start tickling my people and like playing peekaboo and like doing things. And then I realize I'm an adult and I'm with adults. And like so that was one of the biggest transitions for me. It's like, okay, I'm after adult right now, and then when I go home, I can sing 5 Monkeys on a Bed. Right. How are you?
Me.
Biggest transition.
Biggest transition. Well, I had to be kind of almost like a single mom because the dad at the time would go away for a few months at a time for work. So everything became a challenge, from having a shower to getting into the car. If I had a shower, I had to bring Brayden in his little seat and take my shower so I knew he was okay. You know, you don't get to jump in the car anymore. You have to bring your car seat, buckle it in, buckle it out. Like, just every little simple day tasks just become that much more challenging. You don't think about it until it's there.
I think the lack of sleep is one of the biggest. It's amazing how little sleep we can function on and learn to function on. Not function as well, but
I know. I used to think that I needed 6 hours of solid sleep, otherwise the day was probably a write-off. Yeah. Now I'm like, nah. If I get 45 minutes all in a row,
it's all good. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, and I also, it's talking about being a single parent and things like that. Like I see too the judgment with stay-at-home moms versus work moms and things like that. And when I think of single mothers or people that don't have the support system, and I think about moms that are staying home permanently and aren't working, I'm like, how could anybody think that that's not a full-time job? Just this week, I mean, I try to juggle it all, but it doesn't work. I mean, if I'm working, my house just goes like, I mean, it's a war zone in there, you know. And so being a parent is a full-time job. And so when people are saying, "Oh, it must be nice to be at home with your kid," it's like you're not winning either way, you know. And I feel like women are expected to be everything these days.
Yeah, I made the really tough decision to sell my business about 3 months after my daughter was born, because it was just too much for me to do both. And the thought of going back and having someone take care of my tiny baby, it was too much for me. Even though I had spent 3 years, building up a practice and putting the hard work into it, it just wasn't worth it for me.
And looking back now,
I don't regret it at all. It was the right choice for me, definitely.
Yeah.
But for some people, the right choice is to go back as well, and that's really understandable too.
Again, and so talking about, just talk about some of the movie stories that have been shared on your website.
One of the stories that we have on the site is a woman who is talking about C-section births and how that was a choice that she made for herself, and that was the best thing for her, for her body. She had a lot of different kind of factors that she took into that, but how much she found that the first birth that she had a planned C-section birth, and then as it was, the doctor didn't kind of account for that, and she ended up giving birth to the baby vaginally, and that was completely not what she wanted, and it was very traumatic for her, but that she found that there was actually a lot of judgment around the fact that she wanted to have a C-section birth, and that was a choice that she made, and yeah, it was a really big choice, and it was something I hadn't ever thought about before. Or having the fact that it's her body, it's our body. We have the choice to our body. And
no, we don't, according to everybody else.
Not, yeah.
Well, and the opposite goes too for lots of women will set up their whole birthing suite and have beautiful music and stuff, and then they have to go in the hospital. So one thing, you can never plan your birth, just so we are all very clear. There's no planning. It just, what happens, and it's not pretty. But that's another topic I'd like to discuss with you guys is, I was discussing with a local midwife here in Kelowna, and she was talking about how there is so much fear, because we always tell each other the horror stories to do with birth. But there, and then new moms are just like, it's like a ticking time. Like, this is going to come out soon, right? And people are afraid to share their positive stories because they feel guilty about having a good birth. Have you had that kind of experience with any stuff online?
Oh, absolutely. It seems like as soon as there's any discussion, it's the most fantastical thing always ends up getting the most airtime. So people, want to contribute all these scary things. A piece of advice that I got, which I thought was really great, was to I read a book. It was by Ina May Gaskin, and it was all about positive or normal. Actually, I wouldn't even say positive birth stories. They were just pretty normal, kind of standard birth stories, and to try and fill your head as much with those ones, so that way when you hear the scary stories, then it's 1 against 25 pretty normal ones that you've heard. Which I thought was actually very helpful for me, so that when the stories kind of came along, it was easier to deal with.
Did you have a positive birth experience?
I was 100% negative, everything. And I'm not to try to, exaggerate anything. I was the one that had to have sutures put in to keep my baby in it for 4 months. I had to go on bed rest. I had to have a forceps delivery. I had tearing, I had all that. I had the postpartum. I didn't have the positive, but I never envied the women that had the positive stories, just because I'm just glad to hear that if I ever do have a child again, there's a chance.
There's hope.
There's hope that I'm not going to go through this again, although I will have to get the sutures again.
Yeah.
But kind of on the topic of the C-section, I want to opt for a C-section this time. I am never, ever,
I think
ever,
you have
ever.
the right to do
I think
that.
that's right. But my obstetrician still thinks I should go ahead with natural delivery, because she says I've already done, and I said, well, I don't want to do it again because it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare for me. Forceps ladies scream for the C-section just right away. Worst thing ever. Yeah. That's another topic altogether. I could probably take an hour of your show talking about how terrible it is. So, yeah. So that's me.
But a beautiful thing came out of it.
Oh, yes. It's right over there.
Sitting there. How about yourself?
I was really lucky. I had 2 wonderful births, and no complications, both home, in the water. Exactly what I wanted, but I found I wasn't fixated on them. But the stories that you do hear are the horror stories, and I think that goes for everything that we hear on the internet is horror.
Fear-based.
Everyone is really attracted to horror and
fear and negativity.
Yeah, and it's something that I think as a culture and society we really need to look at as well.
Well, I always share with the story with my birth is my friend Nina. She was telling me how her sister had this peaceful, beautiful birth. And it was a silent birth, and so everybody in the whole room was silent. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. That sounds really beautiful. And so I'm picturing like this music and this beautiful birth, and so I ended up giving birth, and I sounded like I was being murdered. Like I was screaming like for dear life, and we filmed it. So my husband has I just took this little clip of me screaming this primal scream with my door wide open and howling into the night, and I wrote silent birth ... nailed it. Like, how do you have a silent birth? That's what I want to know.
I had a home birth as well, and before my daughter was due, I brought wine to my neighbors. I was like, "Hi, I'm having a home birth. So you might need this."
See, I did the after the fact. I wrote cards apologizing. Like, if you heard anything last night, that we're supposed to be making new moms feel really comfortable. Just don't worry, it's gonna be fine. It's all good. It's all good.
One of the stories that that was written about on the site was about the experience of a single parent, which I think is something I hadn't thought too much about either, because that's not my experience. But I know that there's a lot of women, whether they have a partner, whether their partner is in the army and perhaps they go away or in some capacity, or for whatever reason they are a single parent. I've heard that there's a lot of the experiences that happen around that too, where people feel quite judged, thinking that they can ask about questions like, was your child planned? And things like that, which are obviously no one's business. It's horrifying and heartbreaking as well, because it makes women feel terrible.
Well, do you find too, sometimes you say things that you're like, oh, I hope that they didn't come across like I'm judging.
All the time. Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm being so careful because I'm not judging anybody. I'm like, oh, and I'll say something, and then I'll think, oh, I hope it wasn't
true.
Right?
A lot of times it's force of habit too.
Yeah.
Asking those questions, and I think it's difficult now because a lot of the time you don't know what's okay to say and what's not okay to say as well.
Yes, yeah.
You just stay indoors and don't talk to people.
And I think too, we are so fiercely in love with these little people in our lives, and we are also just so committed and we want so badly to do the right thing that I think sometimes we end up being quite sensitive and quite worried as well, because we're trying to make the right choices, and then all of a sudden we see that someone's doing something other than what we're doing, and maybe that calls into question some of the choices we've made, and maybe we're doing the wrong thing, and maybe this is what they think. And I think sometimes all of this fierce love and this fierce vulnerability essentially ends up compounding some of those insecurities too.
Well, we're all just doing the best that we can with what we're given,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. And so it's hard, but sometimes you will see a mom doing something like, oh, that looks a lot easier than what I've been doing. Like, so there are times when you're taking advice from somebody or seeing somebody doing something maybe different, but maybe a little bit better than what you're doing. Like comfort even, like just carriers, just little things like that, and just saying, oh, that's a lot easier, or, you know. So there are things, but I think that with advice especially, I think it's good to have online stuff where people are talking about what they do personally instead of someone coming up to you like, do you really want to be doing that? Because, this is harming your baby, or, then it becomes a problem. Back in the day when you had her,
20 years ago.
Eons ago. Do you feel judged right now? I'm just kidding. Back in the day, I'm just going to get really comfortable here. I'm pregnant. I can do whatever I want. So when you gave birth and the experiences that you had as a new mother versus what you're seeing with your daughter today and what she's been through, what's the difference?
Again, we didn't talk about a lot of this stuff to anybody, certainly not my mom. I was 20 when I had her. None of my friends had babies or were pregnant. So I felt definitely very off on my own with nobody to talk to about it. So it definitely was different, but it was just kind of one of those things, you just buck up, cry a lot in the back bedroom. And as with you, my husband was gone a lot working. So I did it a lot on my own as well. So, you know, you just fake it till you make it. Didn't always make it a lot of the times. Like I say, did a lot of crying. You know, had Shauna natural birth, and our son was a C-section. So, and even back then, people judged you. They just thought, well, I'd had one naturally. I just didn't want to do it that way the second time. So it was, and again, not something that we talked about a lot, so I just secretly hated everybody.
It's not a secret anymore. Now, looking back in hindsight's always 20/20. What's something that's cringeworthy or something that you did as a parent back in the day? My mom always talks about like things that she mixed in a blender, a bunch of like eggs and bananas and different things, and she had no idea what to make.
Well, and then it was, you know, I wasn't, because I wasn't able to nurse because I was a little high-strung. So I would just dry up. So I got, the whole thing was, well, you know, you should have at least, they need the colostrum, and you didn't do that. So, you know, I mean, you just start to make up things of what you can give them, because I thought I wasn't doing it right. So I'd just make up my own little concoctions with milk. Sorry. Starts to explain a lot, I know.
Well, that's actually a good thing to, like, you're a good example for all the moms out there that are judging other moms for not breastfeeding. My mom didn't breastfeed. Your mom didn't breastfeed. Look how we turned out.
We're fine.
We're fine. Emotionally, mainly. Were you guys breastfed?
Yes.
Very short, I think, couple months.
Oh.
Yeah. but even then, it was, my mom had the guilt.
Yes.
Even back then, there was already the stigma around breastfeeding that if you don't do it, you're not a good mother. Which is, don't get me started, but anyways.
I'd like to get you started. All right, let's get you fired up. Yeah. And was there anything else that you've seen differently in terms of judgment? Is it kind of the same now as it was then?
I think it's that same, only different. I think now people talk about it more, whereas back then it wasn't something we talked about a lot. And it's those stories you hear of your mom or your grandma, and they have these amazing stories of, you know, how heroic they were and what they did, you know, strapped to their back out in the field. And so I did a load of laundry. I was pretty impressed with myself. So just those same things. It just, now I think what's so neat is stuff like this. I mean, I think about Shauna having a home birth and my angst for her having a home birth, because that was not something that was in my line of thought at all. So this has been great, because I would have never in a million years have ever thought of something like that. But what's funny about that is I think of my husband's great-grandma had 17 children, and all but one.
What?
Yes, all but one she had at home.
17.
And she had a boarding house, and she, you know, so then
Did she
you
live in
really feel in. I know. So it's kind of hard, you know, when you've had one and you're complaining about the one.
So did you judge your daughter for having a home birth?
I was scared to death.
I want to hear it from her.
Shauna,
what did she do to you? My mom did too. That's why I want to know through you.
Honestly, nothing. Like both of my parents. It wasn't until after Naomi was born that my.
She just ate behind your back.
Yeah, I was just behind my back, I guess. Okay. Yeah. But no, they were really supportive. They didn't. My mom came with me to an appointment with the midwife. She came with me to an appointment with the doula. She lived in Prince George, so like she came and met people with me. I sent her stuff to read and that kind of stuff. And so she was always very supportive, and my dad didn't ever say anything. It wasn't until, I think, the day my daughter was born, and I was sitting on an ice pack down in the living room, and my dad was sitting on the couch. And it was only until that point he went, so why on earth did you decide to have a home birth? I was like, well, thanks for not trying to freak me out beforehand. I appreciate that. But it wasn't until then, and they were awesome.
You're lucky. I had it like days coming up to my birth. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And it's funny because I was actually just in a car having a conversation with a couple people, and one of the guys said to me, he said, going through a midwife is basically saying you don't trust doctors. Ryan Tebbit. What do you think of that comment?
People just don't know.
Yeah.
They're just not educated about what midwives are and what they can do. And
they've been to school for 4 years and just focused on birthing people.
Yeah, and my mom was terrified too because she's a registered nurse and she's seen, you know, a lot of bad things. And she had no idea that midwives had resuscitation equipment and everything on hand that you would have in the hospital. So
for moms that are doing a home birth, I did an interview with Anne Marie Caillé of Malachite Midwives, and we'll have a link to that on our YouTube and our Facebook page, so you can watch anyone that you have to deal with at home. Just send them the link, and she explains everything from, you know, the Minister of Health recommending it for healthy mothers to have home births. Yeah. So make sure you educate yourself before you torture moms making that decision.
She delivered both my babies too.
Did she?
Yeah.
When I saw her, I was like, it's you. I was so happy. Okay, friendships, relationships. How has that changed for you guys? Can you guys have friends anymore that don't have kids?
No, I found there's all these different conflicting things. So if I had a friend with a kid who was on one nap and then my daughter was on 2 naps, and that completely bunged things up for several months. And I found that, you know, friends without kids, you're just in different spots and maybe you talk about different things. And yeah, it takes a lot more planning now. There's not a lot of spontaneity, I find. There's more planning around it. It's possible, it's just significantly more planning.
I always talked about what a good friend I am and how punctual I am and you know, holding commitments and things, and it's really hard now to even just emotionally or like physically to be able to go do things when you have a little bit of time to yourself. You're like, do I want to be going out somewhere?
Exactly.
I want to be actually in bed watching Dr. Phil. My guilty pleasure. What about you guys? Do you have friends anymore?
Not anymore. I was going to say I lost them all. So, well, for me, not any. You know, I can't really think back to that time because my son is 7 years old now. But I found that I didn't socialize that much with my friends, and it was my choice, just because I did want that time, just me time. Mm-hmm. I barely. I think it was maybe throughout his first 3 years of life, maybe like 4 times. Mm-hmm. I chose to have me time, and I'm not ashamed of that.
I had kind of an explosion in my social life because I met a lot of women through the midwifery group, and we had a hiking group of maybe a dozen of us, not all of us all the time, that would get together and go for hikes up to 3-4 times a week. So
just finding that community for yourself.
Yeah.
And social media is good for that too.
I was really lucky that a lot of my friends had babies at the same time as me. So we were kind of all on the same schedule. And then the hardest thing was when a lot of people started going back to work at a year. And then you're kind of left and the only one that didn't go back to work. So then you got to find more ways to meet new people that, you know, have children around the same age, because it's difficult when they're really different ages as well.
What's the best resource for moms, do you guys think?
Oh, I think it's really different. There's lots of good groups online. Facebook is kind of the go-to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I met people through the midwifery groups, but I know not everyone has that opportunity.
What about you?
I didn't find at the time that there was much for me. Maybe I didn't dig, you know, far into it, but now you got that Mamas for Mamas on Facebook, you got Shop and Swap. There's so many, you know, forums and support groups, so I think it's a little bit better. Even that time lapse from when he was born to now, so many things have developed and kind of came out of the woodwork that I found that even 7 years ago.
When you created a good network for moms on Facebook and your website.
Yeah, so on so there's momsunitingmoms.com, and then there's a Facebook page for that, and then I've got several groups. I call them the Mosaic Moms groups in Kelowna and Victoria and Vancouver.
And so how do people be a part of that? And they can also, you have guest bloggers as well for your website?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we're always looking for more people to write just any of their experiences about being a mom in any particular capacity. And the links are on the Moms Uniting Moms Facebook page for all those various groups.
Okay, well, we're out of time, but I want to go around quickly and get each person to talk about the best advice that you could give a new mom. But it's not judgmental. We're trying to unite moms here.
Check out these websites because they certainly have made a difference for my daughter. I know, and just I would read them because she would send them to me, and I always wished that they'd have had something like that when I was, back in the Jurassic Age, when I was having kids. So yeah, I would say reach out to any of these social media groups that they have out there.
And don't do parenting alone because it's easy to isolate, and
Absolutely.
I've done it myself too, where I'm just like I want to close myself in a corner and just not talk to anybody. But you have to get yourself out there and be around other people that understand and get what you're going through and are part of what you're doing, and then you have people to feed off of.
Absolutely.
I would say trust yourself. I think that you know your child better than anyone else, and you are the very best mom for that little one. So really trust what you have and trust the knowledge you have.
Don't be afraid to ask awkward questions. They might seem kind of, unorthodox, like they should not be asked or the kind of taboo, but don't be afraid because being a person that went through postpartum, there was a lot of awkward questions asked my mom, and it turned out that it was normal. It was something that she's been through too. So just don't be afraid, as weird as it is.
I ask Google a lot, especially my pregnancy.
Google's good.
One of the
I like him.
Yeah, Google's my best friend. But one of the strangest things I asked on Google was, can you squish a baby if you eat too much? Because I went to a buffet and the baby wasn't moving, and I actually thought for sure that my baby was dead. Aww. And I was just terrified, and I was like, Google said no. And my baby is perfectly healthy, so just no. So be careful with Google, and don't watch births before you give birth. That's two
the
things of
baby
advice
story.
for me. Yeah, don't watch births.
No.
Just don't do it. How about you?
I think, just to know that everything that you're going through is probably normal. Everyone has different experiences, but some people experience some pretty drastic changes, and you're not out of the norm. And to reach out.
We all go through things like placenta births.
Yeah.
Everything. Well, thank you so much. I'd love to have you girls back because there are more things that I'd like to talk about in the future, which is things that moms don't talk about, but they should. And some of those things are things like miscarriages, talking about things that moms go through that are becoming more, people are sharing more their stories and what they've been through. So if you guys would love to come back for
Absolutely.
a good discussion, I'd love to have you guys back.
Thank you, yes.
We're going to head out to the streets. We've got some streeters talking to some people about their parenting situations, so stay tuned for that. And thank you, ladies, so much for coming.
Thank you.
Now we're going to have a sleepover.
Lights?
Yeah, can you, Doug?
What?
We need you. The girls need some wine. Yeah. The girls need some wine. I need some dessert.
Right.
And we need some blankies. Thank you so much. And one more time, your website.
MomsUnitingMoms.com.
You don't have to wear pajamas to do it.
Or you can.
You can. It's up to you. No one's judging. Like my husband when he called me Red Clown.
You won't let that go, will you?
No. Never. I will never. That's another thing women don't do. We don't let
No, we don't.
Well, hello everybody. It's Dave Lemmer here for the DL Show, and we're asking parental questions to people on the street. That's right, parental questions. What is the best gift to buy a new mom?
Bottle of wine. I think so.
And
I'm not a mom, so
why?
I'd want a bottle of wine. You need to have a drink after having one of those.
What's a good gift to give to a new mom?
Should ask her. How about a night out to a spa or something to get away?
That sounds nice. And what would you say?
I would have said the same thing.
Probably a weekend away with free babysitting.
Ooh. I would say a massage.
I was going to say a spa day.
There you go.
Something.
Just for her.
Just for her, yeah. Diapers.
That's right.
Diapers, teddy bears, and a baby blanket.
Well, there you go. Most people are saying like vacations and stuff, but hey, diapers.
Yeah, you need diapers for the kids. Okay. Otherwise, they're gonna poop all over the floor.
The merde, no. Is it hard being friends with people that have kids?
No, you just deal with the loudness and
move on.
There you go, deal with it.
Deal with it. I love it. Thank you, man.
Yes and no, because they find it more difficult to go out and do things where I might, because I can just get up and go, definitely. And I might have a little more spending cash at the end of the day than they do.
Is it hard being friends with people that are parents?
No, it's not hard. You can easily relate to them if you have nieces, nephews, whatever, right?
Absolutely.
But it's not difficult.
What is the thing you wish someone had told you before becoming a parent?
How much work it is.
How expensive it would be.
What's the best advice somebody could have given you before you became a mom?
Probably just to enjoy life, enjoy your kids, to have fun and not sweat the small stuff.
Have you ever felt judged for certain decisions you have made as a parent?
Yes. By having 5 kids, people judge you.
Yes, definitely. Would you like me to elaborate?
Yes, please.
We put condoms under the bathroom sink when the kids were teenagers because we wanted them...
The bathroom sink. Sorry for interrupting.
So what did I say? Kitchen sink?
Kitchen sink, yes.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Bathroom sink. And we were judged by people in our age group. Actually, relatives, that's right.
Relatives who said that's encouraging premarital sex. Our point of view was, in today's society, we suspect it will happen anyway. Let's not give any excuses for having a child that really no one is prepared for.
I don't know if they've necessarily made comments, but sometimes just the looks they give of you feel like you're doing something wrong if they're crying in the grocery store or doing whatever. But usually people are pretty nice and just say, oh, they're just kids, let them have fun and enjoy life. And as long as you're keeping them alive, you're doing a pretty good job.
Furniture for the DL Show provided by Aaron's Sales and Lease, a Canadian-owned company providing brand-name furniture, electronics, and appliances on easy monthly payments, servicing the entire Okanagan. Call 250-558-3580 for more information.
Say the part about the bus.
The what?
The bus.
Oh, and they once saved a bus full of school children.
It's true.
It's true. I read it on the internet.